Hello, my name is Badshah Hussain Kazmi and I am a student of the City School GCA campus in Karachi, Pakistan. And as you can see, I am a member of the Untitled Club of this school. And I will be commencing with my talk today. I want all of you to imagine when you were born as a child in your families. You grew up in your household the way your family wanted you to. You met people along the way in your schools, and that shaped you as a person. Your character, your qualities, the amount of confidence you have, the bad flaws you possess. All of them were a direct consequence of the people you met, the lessons you learned, and the effects they had on your life. The same can be said about every single human being that ever existed, because it has been said that a newborn child is like a blank canvas for a painter. It can be painted any way you want, a prettier picture it can get, or as ugly as you may imagine it. The same concept, when applied to more mainstream problems, uncovers an absolutely surprising truth: the consequence of origin in our world. Just imagine what we consider in normality monsters in our society, the terrorists. Take for example Islamist terrorists, something that is trending around the world, a problem very relevant to my country as well. Just imagine a child born in northern Waziristan, Pakistan. A child who saw nothing but barren mountains, an absolutely primal way of living from his childhood. A child who was told that the Western world is practically the devil and there is no innocent. A child who was trained and nurtured to end people. How can you expect a child like that to grow up to be a nice person? How can you expect a person who has been fed nothing but negativity to grow up to be positive? You absolutely cannot. Another trendy thing on the internet is, of course, feminists and the hysteria around hating them and thinking them to be unreasonable. But would you ever stop to imagine that maybe that single woman who is afraid of dating men and approaching men and apparently hates men, maybe she has been abused her whole life by some of her relatives. Maybe she was afraid in her room as a 9-year-old when her father was abusing her mother. That kind of an image is hard to wash off from your memories. And that kind of an image is life-shaping in a way that can be absolutely detrimental to society if done in a bigger number. Another example, a very relevant one for the Western audiences, is how racist people are observed in our societies. Of course, it's a problem, and they are not welcome in our societies in the 21st century. But imagine a person who grew up in the state of Texas, who did not interact with any single African American person, who was told that they are beneath white people, or any colored people are beneath white people, who was fed nothing but this elitist reputation of white people. That person will definitely, and I mean definitely, grow up to be that sort of a racist, elitist person who will think that he is superior, who will think that he deserves the privilege he certainly gets in those areas because of this chain reaction that goes on. Now, I'm not apologizing for these people. I am not at any extent trying to say that these people might be innocent of what they've done. They have a conscience, they decide what they do. But to solve these problems, we can't possibly just flog them in like sheep and paint them all black and say that these are wrong and these should be finished. That is a very primal and a very minimalist way to look at things. The second part of my talk is the effect, consequence of what religion has to empathy and how we can use it to solve our problems in our society. See, this is a vile chain reaction that's going on in our world, where children are born, children grow up in bad environments, and then those same children are painted monsters by society, and then those monsters are deemed to be finished. But instead of hunting down those monsters, why don't we try to understand what creates those monsters? Why don't we try to better those living conditions? Why don't we get into the roots of the problems and try to sever it from its root and make it absolutely ineffective to the children, to the innocent children being born in our world? The human species is at risk at this point. To lighten off this talk a little bit, let's think of a pop culture reference here. Stormtroopers in Star Wars. I'm sure many of you are Star Wars fans. Stormtroopers are people who are brainwashed from birth to be soldiers, basically Nazi fascist soldiers. Now, they're not seen by the general audience as people who are basically criminals because they know nothing better. They have been brainwashed from their childhood to be that way, to feel that way, and to act that violent way. The same example, the same living, breathing example is present in our societies, in our world, and continually threatening our livelihoods every single day. But instead of going at it with a very primal attitude, let us understand, let us empathize, let us see through the eyes of the people who make others victims, not just the victims. Let's understand what makes monsters in our society and then use that to solve the real problems we have today. Thank you.